Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This is Yuri Rashkin, and you're watching my Rashkin Report Substack or Rashkin Report Perspective channel on YouTube. Welcome. Before we get into today's monologue, I want to set the stage. This is my take on the latest events, what they mean, how they connect, and why they matter right now. We'll talk about the impact of Andrei Yermak's departure, the so called deal of the grifters, shaping the current negotiations, and Donald Trump's growing information bubble, the situation unfolding in Venezuela, and most importantly, what all of this means for Ukraine's security, diplomacy, and future. Next, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It helps this channel reach more people who care about truth, democracy, and what's really going on behind all these peace plans and secret negotiations. All right, now let's talk about the circus that is Donald Trump's foreign policy and why Ukraine, once again, is being used as a poker chip in a game played by grifters. As the so called peace negotiations start to heat up, a lot of people in Ukraine and in the West are asking the same question. Did the United States push Zelensky's second in command, Andrei Yermak, out? Was his resignation a sacrifice Washington demanded from Zelensky before talks could move forward? I wasn't in the room. I wasn't holding the candle, as we say, but I see two very clear signs that Washington knew exactly what was happening and used it. First, when the corruption scandal around Yermak started to grow, the Trump administration was strangely silent. No outrage, no, we told you Ukraine is corrupt. For this White House, that silence is suspicious. Second, the moment Yermak resigned, Washington didn't pause for even 20 minutes. There was no, let's give our allies time to regroup. They just lost their top negotiator. No, the administration basically said, great, he's gone, let's move. Talks continued immediately, and Ukraine kept defending its interests just as firmly as before. That tells me two things. First, the Americans probably did see Yermak as a convenient scapegoat, the brain behind Zelensky, the guy they could blame for any friction. Second, his departure did not change the main fact. Ukraine cannot and will not sign a capitulation, no matter who sits at the table. Yermak, Shmirmak, Ukraine as a country is not going to sign away its future. And this is where the peace plan comes in, what I call a deal of the grifters. Let's be honest. The original 28-point American plan was written in Moscow. It was presented by Ushakov and Dmitriev, sold to Trump's people as if it were some kind of brilliant compromise. Then it was handed to Ukraine with a friendly suggestion. Don't worry, you can edit a few commas. Except Ukrainians didn't just edit a few commas, they rewrote whole paragraphs. They turned a hidden capitulation into something closer to Ukraine's real interests. And that, of course, drives the Kremlin crazy. Because this plan is not really about peace, it's about a small circle of people. Call them what they are, barigi, grifters, trying to make money and political capital of a war they didn't start and sure don't intend to finish. For Donald Trump, the war in Ukraine is not a tragedy, it's a business opportunity and a PR opportunity. He had a terrible year, tariffs that hurt the economy, chaos in government, allies alienated, the state literally shut down. If he could announce a ceasefire in Ukraine, in his head, that would magically turn him into a great peacemaker. Nobel Prize, please step right this way. But there's one problem. Vladimir Putin. If Putin accepted this plan now, it would mean three things. He cannot tolerate that he is weaker than Trump, weaker than Ukraine, and weaker than reality. To sign a deal with that horrible Zelensky would be an admission of failure. So even if the grifters around Trump are desperate to close some deal, any deal, Putin is still obsessed with empire, with destroying Ukraine, with fighting NATO. He throws his own soldiers into battle with no ammunition, no armor, just meat for the grinder. That is not a man ready to stop. So the deal of the grifters is stuck between Trump's fantasies and Putin's obsessions. And in the middle, Ukrainians are told to be grateful. Inside Washington, we now see two mafias around Trump. On one side, you have the Vance Driscoll wing, J.D. Vance, the vice president from Yale with no real foreign policy experience, but very strong patrons like Peter Thiel. His friend Dan Driscoll becomes Secretary of the Army at 38 with minimal qualifications and repeats Vance's message: we're tired of Europe. Why do we need them? Let's dump Ukraine and go home. On the other side, you have Marco Rubio, the official Secretary of State. He's a classic politician, transactional, ambitious, not a saint, but at least he understands what a state is. He has a power base in the Senate and the House. When senators start saying this plan looks like it was written in the Kremlin, that's Rubio leaking to them, trying to push back inside the system. So we have a bizarre battle: grifters and golf buddies versus a half captive political establishment. And above them all, the king of grifters, Donald Trump himself. Trump now lives completely inside his bubble. We saw it in the leaked Witkoff Ushakov call. Witkoff literally explains to Kremlin how to flatter Trump, how to talk to him like he's a fragile sun god. We heard the same from Stephen Miller, from other insiders. If you criticize him, he doesn't hear you. He only listens to people who praise him. When the January 6th committee reconstructed those days, they showed that Trump would only consult with the most extreme lawyers. Everybody else had already run away. That's the bubble. And Republicans feel it too. Many of them say they learn about the administration's agenda from social media. Some are openly considering resigning early just to hand the House majority to Democrats and stop this train wreck. Trump's answer? He blames everyone else: Democrats, the media, sick cows from Mexico, anyone but himself. Yet his numbers are falling, prices are rising, and people don't care what he says on the plane to the bathroom. They care about gas and milk prices. When Trump insists that prices are down, while everyone else sees that at the supermarket the opposite, he's not just lying, he's insulting his own voters. And now, this man wants to redesign the security architecture of Europe in 24 hours. Remember that promise? I'll end the war in 24 hours? At this point, he has already failed at that promise hundreds of times. If this were a casino, well, he would file bankruptcy and walk away like he did 6 times before. But you can't bankrupt your way out of a war, so he tries something else: turn the whole world order into a protection racket. You want security? Pay up. You want our fleet off your shores? Pay up. You want sanctions lifted? Pay up. That's what we see with Venezuela. The US sends a carrier group, issues ultimatums to Maduro, and at the same time, Trump pardons a former Honduran president who moved tons of cocaine to the US, because in Trump's logic, the real crime was that Biden's Justice Department went after the guy. This is not a foreign policy. This is a mob operation with nuclear weapons. So, where does that leave Ukraine? First, with a simple truth: Ukraine is not a project of Joe Biden. It is not a toy in Trump's personal drama with American Democrats. It is a country that refuses to capitulate, and that is why any peace plan that looks like capitulation will fail, no matter who tries to sign it. Second, with a challenge to Europe and the democratic world: stop believing that changing one person in Kiev or Washington will magically fix everything. Russia has been obsessed with personal swaps for years. Replace Poroshenko with Zelensky, replace Yermak with someone else, and then we'll finally agree. It doesn't work because there's a real society behind these leaders. Third, with a lesson for all of us about money and power: if money truly ruled the world, Putin would have ended this war long ago. He'd take the deal, save his oligarchs, cash in, but he doesn't, because for him, power, fear, and his own place in history matter more than cash. Trump and his circle still believe that everything can be solved as a deal, as a big bargain at a golf club. Putin proves that this is an illusion, and a very dangerous one. Let me finish with this. Right now, Trump is trying to create a peace of the grifters, a peace where Ukraine pays with territory, Europe pays with security, and the only real winners are the people who get the commissions and the photo ops. But there is another kind of peace, a peace based on responsibility, on dignity, on the simple understanding that some things are not for sale. Ukraine is showing that kind of peace to the world, even in the middle of war. And that is exactly why both Trump and Putin keep failing. If this perspective makes sense to you, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps independent voices stay alive in this storm of propaganda and grift. Thank you for watching. Take care and see you in the next episode. This was Yuri Rashkin, and you're watching Substack and YouTube. Take care, everyone.